Welcome to Conversations with Barbara. I'm Barbara Kanelopoulos. With me today is Gabrielle Faria-Kalkanis, who is the Adult Service Reference Librarian at Sturgis. Sturgis is a veritable jewel in the heart of Barnstable Village, and Gabrielle is here to tell us all about it. Welcome to the program, Gabrielle.
Hi, Barbara. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm under the impression that many people in Falmouth, especially newcomers, really don't know about Sturgis Library. It has been there a long time.
Yes.
And I'm hoping that you can tell us all the
I'd love
story
to.
of Sturgis.
Yes. So Sturgis Library is one of 7 libraries in Barnstable. It serves the community of Barnstable Village, but it also serves the entire community of Barnstable, and anyone from the Cape is, of course, welcome to come. Anybody with a CLAMS card can access our collection. And of course, even if you don't have a CLAMS card, you can come and use the library. Sturgis does have a very rich history. It is named for the 19th century sea captain William Sturgis.
Oh, really?
Sea
captain?
A sea captain, yes. So William Sturgis was born in the home that later became a public library. He was born there, and then he grew up, he went off, he traveled the world. He was a very successful merchant in the Northwest fur trade with Asia, and when he returned back to Barnstable before his death, he purchased the home where he was born back into the family and left it with $15,000 in bonds for the establishment of a library. And while many places around the country and in the area throughout the Cape were establishing libraries at that time, Sturgis has the unique distinction of being the oldest building that houses a public library.
Really?
Yes, because it dates back to William Sturgis's grandfather, or great-great-grandfather, many times, in the 1600s, who came over from England to establish a congregation for himself that was separate from the king's rule. He came here, he landed in Scituate, and then he and his congregation made their way down and settled in Barnstable, and he built this home in 1644 that is still standing today and is actually the front part of the library.
So really, the story is very much embedded in colonial history.
Yes.
Do we have any pictures of that?
Yes, I think we have an image of the oldest room in the library. You can see in this image the wide plank pumpkin-colored floorboards.
Yes.
Those are original to the building, so those date all the way back to 1644. Also in that room, you'll see glass cases that are filled with rare and one-of-a-kind books and all kinds of artifacts that relate to Cape Cod history and sea travel. Also in that room is John Lothrop's Bible, which dates back to 1605.
Oh my.
And you can see there that there are some areas of the Bible that are damaged and repaired and written in by hand. And the story goes that on the travel over from England, a candle burned a hole in a couple of the pages, and John Lothrop repaired the pages by hand and wrote in by memory the missing pieces. So that's a treasure that was donated by the Lothrop family to the library, and it sits now in that original part of the building. So people can come in and view it.
It's so great to have a look at that.
Absolutely.
We probably read some of the open pages.
Yeah, yes, it's open to one specific page because it is encased in a protective case, but you can absolutely look at it, yes.
Well, that's extraordinary.
Yes. We also have, as part of that old part of the building, we have a research center, really, for the study of Barnstable County, Cape Cod history, maritime culture. And I think we have another image actually of the Hooper room, which is the research room. It has our
Yes,
genealogies.
perhaps we can see that.
Yes, that it has the genealogies. You'll see the portraits up on the walls. When you come in, there's a self-guided tour to give you a sense of what is in that space. And it's just, people come from all over the world, really, to, so that's actually the modern part of the public library, which people are welcome to obviously come and use.
I see the symbol, a whale.
Yes.
And the replica of a whale. Now, was Captain Sturgis a whaler?
Well, actually, our connection to the whale has to do with Moby Dick, because we have a Herman Melville connection. Herman Melville was the brother-in-law of one of the first trustees of Sturgis Library.
I see.
And actually, in this image, you can see that the case that holds a copy, an original first edition copy of Moby Dick, which is very rare. Many of those were burned in a warehouse fire.
I was interested in that because currently a number of Cape historians are looking into captains, ship captains who are also whalers. But he, as far as you know,
not William Sturgis, but we have many resources for people who are interested in sea captains. So I recommend anybody who's looking into that, come to Sturgis. We have a full archives filled with material for people to come and use. The archives have things like manuscripts, documents.
Primary sources.
Primary source material.
Wonderful.
Whaling logs for anybody who's interested in that. Diaries, letters, ship's logs, all kinds of goodies down there.
Yes, I will pass that on, and I hope that our viewers will pass that information on to people they know who are currently studying Cape Cod's connection to whaling.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so now, of course, we're talking about today and the reach of Sturgis. I'm sure that, like the modern libraries everywhere, that there is a concern with reaching out to the community and offering services to everyone. What are some of the services that people can get access to today?
Well, so in addition to being a research center and having all of this history, we really do have all of the amenities you would expect at a public library. Many of our patrons never step foot in the oldest part of the library because really they're there to meet their needs, which might be to join a story time at our weekly story time on Wednesdays with Miss Christie, our children's librarian, or to take out a DVD, or to use the computers, or to ask a reference question that's not related to history. So, and we have a wide array of programs available for people to come. We do hands-on art workshops. We have speakers in, authors, historians.
Yes, I must tell you how much I have enjoyed the series of speakers, of sessions we have had to talk about journalism today and the need for every town and region to have its own newspaper. And that has been so interesting, and I think there are others planned.
Yes, that was part of our news literacy series, which has to do with bringing the public information about how to evaluate the sources of information that they take in through the news. So we live in a day and age where we're just inundated by an onslaught of information, from TikTok to Facebook, social media, but also, television news and all kinds of publications. So
some of it disinformation, misinformation.
Absolutely, yes. So that can feel overwhelming, but really if we're armed with tools to assess the information that we consume, we can have a good sense of what to trust, what's reliable. And so we created a series of programs. One was a workshop, a hands-on workshop with journalists to kind of learn how to evaluate information. Then we had a 5-part film series with a film critic, Tim Miller,
Yes.
who's also a journalist. And then we have 2 programs coming up. Actually, the first one is in April, on April 25th. This is with the News Literacy Project, which is a national nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that is dedicated to advancing news literacy across the United States. And what they're going to be talking with us about on a virtual conversation is how to have productive conversations about current events without confrontation.
Very necessary.
Very
here
necessary.
We are.
Yes, we have an image there, and it's a Cape-wide community discussion. Sturgis is one of 20 libraries that are participating in bringing this to the residents of Cape Cod and the islands. We're going to be talking with someone from the News Literacy Project about how to listen across divides and how to share our perspectives on current events without getting bogged down in confrontation, which seems increasingly
much needed.
Yes.
Much needed.
And then the following month we have another Zoom presentation with the News Literacy Project about how to avoid election misinformation. And that's again with 20 other libraries. And we have a special guest joining us for that, who is Mindy Todd, which viewers probably know Mindy. She's on WCAI radio, and she's going to be talking to us, like you mentioned, about the importance of local journalism and regional reporting and accessing high-quality news.
Excellent. Very vital. This is so encouraging to know that we all have access to it in our local libraries.
Yes. I think people kind of have a dusty image of the library, so they might think, of Captain William Sturgis and think, what does that have to do with my life?
Yes, and this.
Yes.
Remember that when we were...
Right. No, well, you should come in on Wednesdays at Sturgis and hear just the joy and the noise of the children. And,
wonderful.
Yes. So I think libraries are more important than ever in that they are places people can go to weigh information.
Yes.
Whether it's news or just a claim they're seeing on TikTok or something, your local librarian, reference librarian, can help you weigh the quality of the information that you're accessing.
Now, your own training, your own education, was that in the field of library science?
So my background is in history. Because Sturgis has the special collections related to history, that's really has prepared me well for that, historical research methods and the like. I'm currently taking courses in other areas of library science, and that's been really helpful to expand and learn more about other research methods across disciplines to help people with a variety of questions. Yeah,
so much of our intellectual life is digital.
Yes.
And so that's quite a lot to learn.
Yes, there's always emerging technologies coming out, and libraries really try to keep up and stay right with everything that comes out. And in fact, we're having a talk in May, on May 21st, a panel discussion about AI.
And really?
Because
oh gosh,
that's an area
very up to date.
Yes, that's an area that many of us don't really know that much about. We hear things, we see images in the news, but we're going to have professionals come and talk to us about it.
Excellent. There's some fear that people have, and maybe this will allay the fear. The more information you have, the better.
Yes, I think that's right. I think if we're feeling afraid about change, it's always a good idea to seek out more information about it. And the library is a wonderful place to do that because it's a community center. We're not trying to sell you anything when you come to the library. We're not trying to push a specific perspective.
Yes, good.
We're there to meet the needs of everybody in the community.
Now, it is a public library, but it's independent. How does that work?
So it's an independent nonprofit library. We receive some funding from the town, but we largely raise funding through efforts fundraising efforts at the library. Like I mentioned earlier, we're one of 7 in Barnstable. Each library in Barnstable represents the different villages, and of course we all communicate with each other and work together to serve our larger communities, but we all have a little something different to offer.
I see.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I can see that Sturgis is quite unique in many ways.
Yes.
Mostly because it has such a, as you said, rich history.
Yes, it has the history and it has the archives. That I want to stress how wonderful those archives are and how accessible they are to the public.
Do we have a screenshot of
We have, I brought some images of things that I found in the archives that are really interesting. For example, I have a document signed by John Hancock, which is down in our archives. That's part of our historical document collection.
Yeah.
And that was one of the first collections I saw when I came to the library. Actually, so this is a letter. I'll talk about this one.
Yes.
This is a letter that is within one of our correspondence collections. And this is part of a collection of a young man. We were talking about whaling earlier. This was a young man who had joined a whaling ship, and these are the letters that he wrote home. And you can see the stamps from all around the world, all the different places he visited. And these are some really poignant letters about the realities of life on a whaling ship. It was not an easy life for these young men, and he misses home, he misses his family, and you can kind of really trace his story and feel the emotions he was feeling.
Some of those trips lasted even longer than 3 years, 5 years.
Yes.
A difficult life.
Oh, and here's the document with John Hancock's signature. This is a pre-Revolutionary War document. It's actually, I believe it's 1768, and it was a letter written to each of the selectmen of the different towns by revolutionary figures in Boston. So this one was written to the selectmen of Wellfleet, and it's just calling them to come together and discuss, the pre-revolutionary ideas that were going on.
Oh, so communicating one's ideologies, that sort of thing. How interesting.
Yes. So in addition to these really old documents, we have some newer stuff. And I guess if you call the 1920s new, I also brought images of what the canal looked like
let's
during
see.
the 1920s.
We must see that.
See, here it is. You can see that it's a lot less structured. There's sand dunes off to the side. I believe I have another that shows image of the Sagamore Bridge before it was the current Sagamore Bridge. There it is. Yes.
Oh my.
And you can just see there was a factory there. I forget the story about what that factory is. But that is also, that information is in the archives. So if any viewers want to come down and see this type of material, they're more than welcome. We will bring it up. You can go to our website at sturgislibrary.org, navigate over to the research tab, and then look through our finding aids, and you can see what we have in the archives, and you can come down and handle it and use it.
Would someone actually be able to read John Hancock's letter?
Absolutely, yes. Some of the materials, like that one, would require assistance from a librarian. But the vast majority of material down in the archives is you can come and you can spend as much time with it as you want, and people use it for all sorts of reasons. I had someone coming in the other day asking about a business that existed in the 1920s. So we were combing through the archives and looking at different advertisements that we had, trying to locate this business.
And so often we have interpretations of history,
Yes.
but if we don't have the primary source, we don't know whether that interpretation's correct. So this would be so valuable to go back to John Hancock's letter to read exactly what he said.
Yes, and actually I brought an image of another example. There's a Native American deed that I brought that speaks to this point, because a lot of people are going back and trying to find out the history that happened when settlers came to the
Yes,
area. There were
yes.
people living here for thousands of years.
Yes, yes.
And we actually house a vast collection of deeds, these early deeds. And a lot of them, a number of them, deal with the Native American people that were living here. And so that's an example of a primary source
Yes.
material that somebody could use to understand what was
Exactly.
going on at that time.
Yes, exactly. To write that history that in many cases has not been fully told.
Right. Yes, a lot of the Wampanoag history and stories has been handed down within that community.
Yes.
And I think now there's an effort to recognize different ways of accessing and understanding and
yes.
passing on history. And to that end, we have had some speakers in to talk from that perspective versus just the documented
Good.
perspective that
Oh,
we
I see.
Yes.
Others who have studied these primary sources and
Well, yes, and for example, last year we had a history series, a reading and lecture series that looked at history from different perspectives and diverse perspectives. So we had Hartman Dietz, who is a registered member of the Wampanoag tribe, come and talk about the significance of wampum culturally, historically, and economic sense. Yes, so there's all different ways to access history.
oh, now you said that this is such a rich, it's a treasure house. So and you said that anyone who lives in Falmouth can drive down.
Yes, actually, I brought some images of Falmouth. There are early postcards that I found the other day.
Oh, let's see those.
Yes, as I was preparing for the show, I came across these postcards in our postcard collection. Oh, actually, these are ships, early ships, which people are typically interested in. We have a lot of people who do sort of maritime history.
Oh, yes.
But we have images from Falmouth. I don't know if they'll be shown here, but my point in bringing them was just to say that it's not just Barnstable. That and this is an example of a whaling log that I found to be beautiful because the person who was creating this log was filling in very meticulous notes on things like weather and navigational information, and then at the bottom they created this beautiful watercolor. And these little surprises come up
Yes,
in the
yes,
archives, and they're
yes.
just delightful. Here's another image of a whaling log, and those are the stamps that would record how many whales were captured. So yes.
Yeah, that is just, I imagine how thrilling it is to be able to put oneself, reading those words, putting oneself into the point of view of that writer and
Yes.
understanding what the weather was like,
Yes.
the difficulty of sailing,
Yes, that's
maybe some of the complaints.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, we have many diaries and like I said, the logs. And what's interesting is sometimes it's not just history that people are using these sources for research. Sometimes they give great information about weather, so we can learn about climate change and we can learn about weather patterns. So there's all kinds of research that can be done.
All of this brings to mind this wonderful quotation by, I think it's, yes, I know, Faulkner. History is always with us. It isn't even past. And I would think that a visit to Sturgis would certainly bring that past very much alive to us.
That's so true. Even working in the archives, when I'm down there looking for particular things, I'll come across images, photographs of young children that were from way back when photography first was invented. And I imagine their lives. It makes you feel connected
Yes.
to previous generations and to the people who came before.
And as for someone who has majored in history, this is a lovely, perfect place for you.
It's perfect.
Yeah,
I love it.
You must enjoy the work very much.
I do. I enjoy the work. It also, another one of my roles at Sturgis is ordering the fiction books.
Oh.
Because that is another passion of mine. I love reading fiction.
Yeah.
So there's something at the library for everyone. Like I said, if you're just a casual reader or
Sure, romance novels.
yes, right, and I love having those kinds of conversations with
Yes,
readers when they
yes.
come into the library.
We must mention the fact that you also do a show with Mindy Todd. Is that monthly? Or?
So Mindy has a monthly book show that she does, and I regularly appear there reviewing books and recommending books to listeners, which is so much fun.
I bet it is.
Yes.
You get to read them and enjoy them.
I read most of them, and then some I rely on reviews
Yeah.
and descriptions because I want to make sure that I'm bringing books that speak to
Yes.
audiences
Yes.
that might be interested in things that I don't read.
Yes, yes, yes. We want, and I think you said this earlier, that the library it should be for everyone, everyone's point of
Absolutely.
view, everyone's
Yes.
interests.
Yes.
Yeah, a
Yes.
truly democratic place.
Absolutely, yes. And I think we seek to do that in really different ways to make sure that we're speaking to everybody.
Yes.
That's through collection development, ordering books and materials that showcase a diverse perspectives, diverse authors, through community partnerships. We actually have partnered with the Zion Union Heritage Museum in Hyannis, which is a fabulous resource for anyone interested in the history of African Americans and people of color on Cape. And I mention that because sometimes reaching out to other organizations is just a fabulous way to expand the scope of what you can offer to patrons.
Yes, exactly.
And I do encourage people to visit sturgislibrary.org to sign up for our newsletter because, for example, the programs we're creating in conjunction with the Zion Union Heritage will be available, and you can know about them through our newsletter. That's the best way to stay up to date with everything that we offer.
Yes, very important. So that's your website again.
sturgislibrary.org.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yes.
Well, I can't thank you enough for being here and telling us, especially those of us who have not been to Sturgis and need to know that it is just a fabulous place.
Yes, you can come visit, check out the front of the building. You can take sort of a self-guided museum tour of the front. You can look through the finding aids and see if you want to see anything in the archives.
Good.
Or you can just leave with a book.
Yeah, thank you so much. And viewers, thank you very much for watching. I look forward to seeing you next time on Conversations with Barbara. And I do want to thank our volunteers, Marilyn Rowland, the director, and also certainly Gunnar Keenet, who is our cameraman. Thank you very much. And goodbye for now.
Thank you, Barbara.